Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown studios at Santander Stadium. Talking York's home teams. Welcome to York College Spartans Sports Weekly on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Now, here are your hosts of Spartan Sports Weekly, Daryl Henry and Scott Geis.
And welcome, everyone, to the next edition, this edition of York College Spartans Sports Weekly. Daryl Henry along with Scott Geis, and not the third wheel, but very happy to have, throwing shots already, the third member of our crew, Derek Berenshausen, in the booth today. Welcome, Derek.
Well, thanks for having me, Daryl, and honestly, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
How's the weather all the way back there?
A little drafty back here. The door is not quite sealed, the best, so I'm getting a little draft, but I'll fight through it.
That might come with the new studio, which we'll have in the next month. But
pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah, very much so.
It's going to be nice, though.
We
won't have a view of the field, which,
No, but we'll have a view of the downtown and Brooks Robinson Plaza.
There we go.
Yeah, our Center City studios, sort of. A couple blocks from Center City. But right here, broadcasting from Santander Stadium on this super-duper Monday following Super Sunday. And what'd you guys think? Are you inspired for the show today? Or?
Run the football. Pete, run the football. I actually saw a tweet from Adam Schefter. He had a buddy who lost $15,000 in the Squares game because
that too.
Because Seattle didn't score. I can only imagine. It's funny. I sat with my wife, and as a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan, yes, you can feel sorry for me now. I'm probably never going to have to experience this, but I said, how intense would it be if that's your team either going down the field trying to score to win the game, or your team playing defense trying to prevent them from scoring? And I hope to find out someday. I might not live through it. I might stroke out. But it's what an unbelievable finish. I mean, it was a great Super Bowl anyway. But to have it end like that, wow! I feel bad if you're a Seattle fan because you're getting ready to celebrate. You have beast mode, and you got 4 cracks at it, and you think that that's a tough way to lose. It's a tough way to lose. I'm not sure Darrell Bevell's going to be getting any head coaching opportunities anytime soon.
No, his name took a hit. Derek, what'd you think last night?
Well, I think the main thing is the takeaway is you have a running back named Beast Mode. Well, let's not overthink it here. You're 1 yard away. You got 3 downs to punch it in, and I think that's what Seattle did. They tried to outsmart New England, try to outthink themselves, and end up hurting them in the end. You can talk about you hear all day about the angle of the pass, and the receiver didn't I think it was I forget what receiver it was, didn't come off the line quick enough, but let's give the kid credit from Butler from New England. I mean, he made one heck of a play, stepping up and picking that ball off, and he knew, he was prepared, he read it, he was ready to go. So, give that kid some credit for making a play.
Yeah, I think I saw the interview where he talked about when they came out in that formation, he had through film study, was prepared and knew, what they ran out of that, and that certainly would give, you got to give a nod to an undrafted free agent. And, there aren't many of those guys in New England, but what a fantastic job by them, and really what a great Super Bowl. And I think the NFL is ready to close the book on this season for sure.
Yeah. My takeaway, the first down run with Lynch, where I think he picked up 4, got to the 1, that might be my lasting image from this Super Bowl, because I don't know that I've ever seen anybody run harder than him in general. But on that one play with the game on the line, I'm thinking, when he just runs through guys to get to the 1, I'm thinking nobody's going to stop him at this point. It's a foregone conclusion. Mm-hmm. And the thing I was thinking then was, why isn't New England stopping the clock to get the ball back?
Well, I'd even thought after the initial catch of, are they going to let them score?
Yeah.
Because you have a much better chance of going down and getting a field goal with 1:06 left, as opposed to letting the clock run. I mean, really, it's interesting how it all worked out. It certainly all worked out well for New England, but there were some clock management issues towards the end of that game that I found interesting. And certainly Bill Belichick has forgotten more about football than I will ever know. But it was interesting how that played out and really how that ended up, how the end of the game finished. It was incrediable. And
if you're Seattle, you're a Seattle fan, you have a chance to go out and win the game right there with one play. And instead, it talked about, we have a play to burn. If it goes incomplete, it's incomplete. But you're at the 1 yard line. You got Marshawn Lynch. Go out and win the game. You know, or if you're gonna throw a pass, throw a fade route, something that is less risk.
Turned over.
So,
hey, credit New England. They made a play. It doesn't happen all. That's the only pass intercepted from the 1 yard line this year in the NFL.
Oh wow!
Hadn't
heard that one.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, credit New England, and certainly now, guess what? My team's tied for first place, 0-0. Quarterback might be in rehab, but we're 0-0. So,
quarterback and receiver.
Quarterback and receiver, exactly. It certainly was an interesting NFL year, and hopefully the NFL can have make less news off the field this year.
That would be nice. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people around the country were tired of all of the chatter from Seattle, so there were probably a few people that weren't too unhappy to see how that played out last night. But I'm personally still trying to pick myself up from the commercials. I'm still a little down and bothered by some of those. Yeah. That was an interesting take and an interesting tack on the commercials this year. But it's the only time of the year when people actually pay attention to the commercials. So there were a couple good ones. There were some not so good ones. If you were on social media last night, there was certainly a lot of chatter about some of the. I believe it was the Nationwide commercials. Yes.
I never thought I'd be longing for Peyton Manning to tell me how good the chicken parm was, but those commercials are certainly a lot better than what we had last night. So, but all in all, pretty interesting day in Phoenix.
Yeah. So it's Groundhog Day now, and I saw a lot of people on social media last night saying, on to baseball season now, and we're actually going to get to that later on this show. We've got Mike Scappa, York College head baseball coach, joining us as we start to preview some of the spring sports, but also dissecting what's going on the winter sports scene as well. And did Phil see his shadow today? I've been under a rock.
I believe we have 6 more weeks of winter, yes.
So he's pretty unpopular in the groundhog world now, as it were.
He's not always so accurate. So, here's what I look at. We've had 3 crappy Mondays in a row that we've come in to do the show. Now, actually, the sun's out right now, but it's going to get cold and pretty uncomfortable for the next couple days. So, hey, at least we don't have 8 inches of snow on the ground, so I'll take it.
Well, my shoes are still drying from the slush this morning, but... so moving along, do you want to talk about the Cleveland Indians again this week before we...
Well, we have 16 more days till pitchers and catchers report, but hey, who's counting?
All right. Well,
I think we put everybody to sleep last week. We'll go right into Spartan Sports after the Super Bowl talk.
I think it's a good choice.
We'll move on to YCP women's basketball is where we will start on this week's show. And guys, you talk about a team whose stock is definitely trending upward. We had almost turned this into a cliche in recent weeks, was that the formula for them that they were looking for was to beat the teams they're supposed to beat and get one of those wins against one of the top 4 or top 5 in top 4 in the conference this year. And Saturday they certainly did it. Win of the year, I would venture to say, beating Christopher Newport, and got off to a great start and quite honestly really took it to them. I mean, at halftime you had to expect Christopher Newport's best push. We certainly felt a push from them, but for the most part maintained a lead at double digits throughout the day, and really to me it started with the defense. I thought Coach had a great game plan drawn up for that, and they executed very well. It was an awesome Saturday, an awesome alumni day too, to get that win.
Well, and I think one of the things you look at with particularly in that game, we had one player, Shea had 13, Sam had 11, but everybody contributed. Morgan Golick played really well. Brianna Bishie, she had 4 points, but she had 3 assists and 0 turnovers in 36 minutes against pressure that Christopher Newport brings. She also had 7 rebounds, and all of them on the defensive end when you need to get... we always talk about getting stops. You only get a stop once you've gotten the rebound, and that's a huge part of it. And I thought defensively, you hit it right on the head. We were outstanding, played really well. We are playing well together. If you watch the good things that are going on, that extra pass, that skip pass that's finding an open player, and you have players that are playing with more confidence. You look at Morgan Golick, and she's a completely different player than what she was at the beginning of the year, playing with more confidence, being aggressive. She's physically a talented kid, and she's playing really well. Sam and Shea continue to play well. I was joking with Shay. She ended up with 10 turnovers in the game. Now, probably 6 or 7 of those were questionable walking calls. And
they're quick at that.
Well, and that's going to happen. And quite frankly, it was not a well officiated game either way. There were some things that they let go. There were some things they called that were not very consistent. There was one play where Sam got absolutely hammered on a layup, and there's no call. And then one of our, and then there was a call a couple possessions later where somebody gets hand checked and they're calling that. And it's like, there's just a level of inconsistency in the officiating. But, we played really well and really happy to see that strong play. They've won 5 of their last 6, 9 and 10 now, one game under 500, which, a couple weeks ago, we were wondering when we're going to win the next game.
I know.
And there was a question of what was going to happen with this team, but they've really stepped up and have really played well since that Salisbury game. Then when they went down, and even though they lost, played one of the best teams in the country, really, really tough. So, you look at the schedule, 6 games left. They could go 5-1, they could go 4-2. If they do that, if they're 4-2, that leaves us at 13-12 and 9-9 in the conference. Which, when we were 3-6, 3-7, things weren't looking real good. So it's good to see them kind of really get back on track.
Derek, matter of time, do you think it was? I mean, I know Coach I sent her a quick note, and she got back to me just with how happy she was about where the team has developed to at this point. She could sense that it was going to come at some point. Was that your sense all along, a matter of time till they clicked like we've seen recently? Yeah,
absolutely. I think we have jumped the gun a little bit early on, thinking, based on the couple last years we've had successful seasons, and then this year kind of got off to a rocky start, we're thinking, oh, great, this season is going to go down the tubes. But I think it's just a matter of time of, people stepping up and playing new roles. A lot of people haven't played a lot of minutes over the last few years that they've been here. So now this year, everyone's kind of taking on a new role, just used to stepping up. And I think it's a matter of time just coming together, gelling, finding their role and playing to their strengths. And I think, a couple players we mentioned before, Brianna Bishey, she's great at the point, solid, and then if she's able to hit a few threes, a few key shots, as we've seen the last couple games, that's going to add another dimension to her game. And also Julianne Lambert, another player who can come off the bench, spell a Bishey at the point, but also Scott and I have talked about this. She's one of the best I think we have on the team of getting to the lane, explosive, and if she's able to finish in close, I think that's going to be another added weapon we can have to go along with Ruse and Wassel and Golick. So
the one thing I look at, and Derek talking about Julianne Lambert, she has the ability to finish with her left hand, and Sam Roos has that same ability. When you have the ability to go down the lane and use either hand, that's a huge weapon in women's basketball because they're able to finish. And when Julianne she can turn the corner quicker than anybody we have, and she has a really good ability to get in there and cause havoc, whether it's her finishing or her dishing in the paint. The ability to do that, and that's a good weapon. And she, one of the things about Julianne is she's really had to learn to play more composed. She would get so excited and try and make that play and turn the ball over. She's much better at that now. She's not turning the ball over. She's making better decisions, and I think there's a lot of kids you can say that for on this team, that decisions are, coming more naturally and more instinctively, and really, we're going through a stretch where we have a lot of players playing well, and they're playing well together. So that's a huge part, I think, of their success. And, Coach Whitman said, give her credit. She said, hey, get us to January, get us through that Ohio Wesleyan tournament and that trip to Christopher Newport, and we're going to start playing better basketball. And lo and behold, they certainly have done that.
And lo and behold, Christopher Newport is the team that they beat on Saturday, getting one of those top-of-the-conference victories. So as it stands right now, Salisbury, they're still unbeaten at 12-0. Mary Washington, 1 game behind. Christopher Newport and Marymount now both 8-4, tied for third. So now this brings us to Wednesday night. Spartans travel to Wesley, who's 6-6 in the conference, and York is 1 game behind, tied with St. Mary's for the 6th spot, but holding the tiebreaker over St. Mary's. If you get the win on Wednesday, you're tied for 5th all of a sudden. And fellas, not only that, but Coach Whitman is going for win number 300 on Wednesday night, and definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't think that's not something she's focused on. The rest of us can focus on it for her. I mean, obviously you want to wait till it happens, but what an incredible career she's had. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of her career at York. I got here a year before she did, and I'm not sure that there's a better role model for our kids than Betsy. She's been fantastic. She is. It's funny. There's times I'll come in after a game and I'll be pretty fired up, and she's always usually pretty calm. And that's one thing I give her a ton of credit for. And she knew this year was going to be different than most other years she's had, but she's been patient and she's stuck with the kids, and she gives our kids so much confidence because she really does believe in them and puts them in positions to be successful. So in terms of a head coach, I feel so fortunate that she's been on my side and our side for so many years, and hopefully she can crack that milestone on Wednesday night and beat Wesley, because that ultimately that's what she cares about more, is getting the win at Wesley than how many career wins she has. So that's a huge credit to her. She's an amazing coach and an amazing person.
Well, that's what we're looking at as far as storylines for Wednesday night. And 2 road doubleheaders this week. Saturday is at Marymount, but Wednesday we'll have the broadcast beginning at 5:45, next conference doubleheader.
From spacious Wentworth Gymnasium.
It's not the word I would use,
no.
I sense some...
There's
that
little
was sarcasm.
bit of sarcasm there.
That's what that was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll give a full description to the fans on Wednesday night.
Well, it won't take long, because there isn't a whole lot to describe. It's pretty tiny.
One entrance in, one entrance out.
Yep. So, and it's always a sauna too. So,
I'll be busting out the shorts on Wednesday.
Yeah, don't cramp up.
No.
Drink
lots of water.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a break here. Good stuff on the women's basketball side. Definitely excited to see what is in store for them next, and looking forward to Wednesday night. When we come back, Derek primarily will handle our wrestling breakdown and track and field as well, as those two teams coming off this past weekend, and we'll break that down for you. Coming up later as well, we mentioned the beginning of our spring sports previews, and Mike Scappa, head baseball coach, joins us on this program, and then we'll talk some men's basketball as well later on in the show. This is your College Spartans Sports Weekly here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Blazing fast service for all of your wipeouts. OSS Health Urgent Care will take care of all of your muscular and skeletal sprains, pops, twists, and breaks in minutes, not hours. Open 7 days a week for your urgent orthopedic needs. Now at 2 convenient locations, 1855 Powder Mill Road in York and 856 Century Drive in Mechanicsburg. Visit us online at osshealth.com. OSS Health Urgent Care. Experience you can trust.
Dad, I'm home. Why am I not surprised to find you laying on the couch?
Oh, hi, son. Is your fall semester over already?
Yep, I love it at York College, and I really like living on campus this year.
Yeah, that reminds me. We need to have a little talk. You know, about the facts of life.
Dad, we had that talk years ago. And anyway, I don't believe you ordered me from Amazon.com.
I mean, your mom and I are helping to pay for your college as much as we can, but now you've got room and board on top of books and tuition, and you haven't asked me once for money.
Dad, I told you last year that York Educational Federal Credit Union took care of all that. That student choice loan we applied for last year was a one-time application. All I have to do this year is tell them how much I need, and they send the money right to the school. The loan is set up similar to my Stafford loan, so I don't have to start making payments until 6 months after I graduate. I told you YEFCU rocks.
College has been good for you, son. You're smarter already.
York Educational Federal Credit Union, 1601 South Queen Street, York. Apply online at yefcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Believe it or not, spring is coming, and we've got the bases covered like Etch with dirt during a tantrum. Join Darryl Henry and Atlantic League Manager of the Year Mark Mason for Revs Hot Stove Weekly every Friday at 4. Breaking news each week with the latest player signings exclusively here first. Plus fan interaction online, interviews with players, and we'll highlight really good calls from umpires. Maybe we should have stopped with interviews with players. Revs Hot Stove Weekly, Fridays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home team, The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York.
Yes, that's right. A new show added to the WOYK weekly lineup beginning on Friday at 4.
Oh, you and Mace will have fun doing that.
We
That'll
sure
be a
will.
good time.
Yep.
I think that'll be a highly entertaining show.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Our first 3 signings will be announced this week. And here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, coming off the weekend with wrestling senior night on Friday and indoor track and field competing a couple of times this weekend as well. And Derek, you've got all the details on that, a big weekend in that respect.
Yeah, it certainly was. Wrestling picked up a 37-10 win over Penn College of Technology on Friday night. Wrestling is now 20-4 overall, and they're currently riding an 8-match win streak. So Spartans are rolling in that department. It was senior night, as you mentioned. We honored 4 seniors: John Allenson, George Baker, Drew Spector, and Matt Zappilli.
Not pretty nice class. They have combined to go 74-23 in the last 4 years, which is, I mean, you think about that. The winning percentage on that's pretty impressive. Now they had a big freshman year and they're having a big senior year, but unbelievable start. And it's not really a start to a season now. You're 24 matches in, but the ability to do what they're doing as young as what they are, because really of those 4 seniors, Drew's the one probably with the most experience and John's probably the second, but you know, we don't lose a ton of wins next year from that foursome. They've all, and now they've done a lot of other things in terms of leadership and what they do off the mat, and it's a really good group of kids. But in terms of what we have coming back next year, it's kind of scary how much experience comes back next year.
Coach Dwayne thought they should have been 97-0.
Well, Coach Dwayne thinks we should never lose a match. And hey, you know what? That's it. You know, we talk about that all the time.
That's why they're good.
And that's why they're good,
yeah,
is because he expects a lot out of those guys. And you know, the one thing I think about Dwayne that's really impressive is I don't think he asks guys to do things they're not capable of. You know, I think sometimes coaches are a little unrealistic in what they expect from their student athletes. Dwayne isn't. Like, he knows what these guys can accomplish. He knows how to push the guys in the right direction and how to get them going in the right way, and he's done a great job of that. And I think it's scary to think how good we can be, because we're only going to keep getting better. He's going to recruit those. You know, there's a couple spots in the lineup that probably need to be shored up. I guarantee you next year we're going to have 2 or 3 freshmen that are really good in those weight classes, and we're just going to continue to be great. And I think he is, his stated goal is he wants to pass Coach Kessler, his mentor and his head coach, for the wins record. So he's certainly off in the first 2 years to a pretty good start.
Yeah, and as you said, this group of seniors, and talking with Dwayne, he had nothing but the highest praise for these guys. Really, the focus of the wrestling program is to create a well-rounded individual both on and off the mat. I think these 4 guys really, really excelled both on, but definitely off the mat as well. Unfortunately, you hope to get these guys a win on senior night, send them out on a good note, but it was a tough night for the seniors. Only one of the 4 got wins. Starting at 149, Drew Spector kind of ran into a buzzsaw. Talking with Dwayne before the match, he said, hey, the guy at 149 from Penn, probably their best kid, and Drew battled and was looking for an opportunity to get some points, but he gave everything he had, but dropped a 13-5 this major decision there, and then John Allenson at 157. Really wrestled, really well. He was leading, I want to say, like 4-5. He had a 4 or 5 point lead at one point. Battled, but I think he just ran out of gas down the stretch and ended up losing 16-14. Just it's a heartbreaker. And then George Baker, one of those kids Dwayne talks about. He does whatever you want. He does whatever you ask of him. Selfless guy, great locker room guy.
Fantastic at running the Twitter account.
Oh yeah, we love George.
We love George. George does a fantastic job. He keeps us up to date on those out of town nights when we're not there. He does a fantastic job with that Twitter, and he's a guy that's all in. All 4 of these guys are guys that are all in. You look at what they do off the mat, and really, they were juniors when Dwayne took over. He had known them as being the assistant coach, but those guys, when he gets their buy-in, that helps everything else. If you see your leadership having the buy-in of believing in what coach is selling, it makes it a lot easier as a head coach to really sell the program to not only recruits but also to kids that are already in that room. And those guys have, I have nothing but praise for those guys in terms of how they've handled themselves and really have created that culture of winning in the Spartan program.
And Baker, typically a 157 guy, bumped up to 165 in this match, and that was a close match. It was
actually really exciting.
Oh, match. It was so exciting! Yeah, everyone was getting into it. The crowd was really getting behind him, and he gave up a 2-point takedown with less than 10 seconds to go in the third period, and it's just it just rips your heart out because you want that guy to win so bad, and you're pulling for him so hard. But then Matt Zapili, Zip as the guys refer to him, came out at 184, and he really just dominated. Picked up a 12-3 major decision, racked up over 3 minutes in riding time, and kind of, he held the torch high for the seniors and got some energy and some juices going back in the Charles Wolf Gymnasium because it was kind of dead there for a while. Penn came out and took 3 straight matches and was kind of down, but Zip put a little exclamation point there on senior night, so that was good. And then earlier on at 133, Ryan Flynn. All he does is win. Picked up a pinfall in 56 seconds. He is now 31-9 overall in the year. I mean, he's just tearing it up. And then, of course, I guess we can call him freshman phenom, John Shorter.
We can call him a lot of things. That would be one of them. He's been fantastic.
Came out at 197. All he did was pick up his 9th straight pin in the last 9 straight dual matches. He did that in minute 10. And in that stretch, he's got 5 first-period pins. He's got 12 pins overall, and he's 13-1 in his last 14 dual matches. So he is just on a roll and on a tear right now. He told Dwayne last week, I don't like wrestling for 7 minutes. Well, he's definitely a man of his word because he's out there doing work for sure.
Well, and if you look at him wrestle, he reminds me a lot of Dwayne in terms of on the mat. It's all business. He comes out there, he does his job, he's done, and that's a lot how Dwayne wrestled, and certainly. If John can stay healthy for 4 years, he could do some pretty incredible things. And really, he just is one of those guys. He's very unassuming, kind of low key, just goes out and does what he's supposed to do. And it was scary dominant how quick that. Because even before he pinned him, it was almost like he was toying with him a little bit, like I'm going to take you down, and then he turned the kid over in minute 10. That's just
he had
crazy.
A 5-point lead before the pin, and he actually had the kid on his back. With less than a minute to go, and just couldn't get the pin, and then regrouped, got a different grip and took him down. So yeah, he's just very technically sound, very confident, and for a freshman at 197, I gotta think that's a tough weight class because you probably going against guys who are older, more mature at that weight, and
you're going against men.
As a freshman, I mean that's impressive.
Mighty high praise too, if he reminds you of Dwayne.
Well, and that's just that's. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah,
just and more in his approach. I mean, I'm not sure we're ever going to see somebody as dominant as Dwayne.
Yeah.
But John's certainly off to a pretty good start. Dwayne was unbelievable to watch, but certainly it's been a lot of fun watching John get started on his freshman year.
Yeah. Well, that was a big senior night indeed, and also Derek, as we previewed, indoor track and field was at it a couple of times this weekend. What's the latest there with them?
Basically, another solid overall weekend. Coach LoBianco was pleased with where we are right now. Times are getting better on both the men's and the women's side, and the runners are rounding out into shape. We're 2 weeks away from CAC indoors. I think we figured out, and so LoBianco was happy with where the progression was at. 2 different meets we competed at, the Bison Open at Bucknell on Friday, and then the Patriot Games at George Mason on Saturday. There were, in all, there were 3 school records that fell, and we had 11 runners set personal records, personal bests, 5 on the men's side and 6 for the women. So it was, they're on a high note. They're hitting their times. They're breaking records. So that's where you want to be, I guess, at this stage in the game. And one of those records, again, Darnell Tillman, junior sprinter, broke his own 200-meter dash record again for, I think, the 3rd time this year. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's been rolling. He posted a time of 22.64 at the Bison Open, surpassing his old time of 22.75. And then Darnell went down to George Mason on Saturday and joined up with the 4x4 relay team who broke the school record. He joined Darian Gray, Anthony Smart, and O'Kara Beetleman. as they set the school record with a time of 3:28.59, surpassing the old mark of 3:31.19. And then also at the Patriot Games, one of the most decorated, prolific female runners we've had in program history, Jess Miller. Well, she just went out and broke her own school record in the 3K with a time of 10:17.54, breaking her old mark by 12 seconds. The old mark was 10:29.50. So
I think we can call that obliterating.
Yeah,
I would say.
Solid outing for Jess. She took home a 4th place in the 3K, which is impressive because she was going against a lot of Division I runners. So I think that speaks volumes as to the type of caliber runner Jess is, and then where she's at, obviously in this stage. And then just another mention, Caroline Delaney placed 12th in the mile with a time of 5:17.95, just 0.7 of a second off of her school record time. So she's looking good too. Jess and Delaney, if we can get those two going, that's going to be good going into CACs.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's talked to Coach Lobo this morning. He was thrilled with the performance of the distance runners. Said that they're kind of right on track for where they need to be. He said there's a couple other things he wants to shore up, wants to fine tune some things with the sprinters. But other than that, he said they're getting ready and getting prepared to put themselves in position to compete at the conference championships, and that'll be on February 21st at Christopher Newport. That starts at 11 a.m. So that'll be something in 3 weeks that the Spartans will be ready to roll, and that's a busy weekend for us. Lacrosse at home that week, basketball at home that week, swimming and track and field on the road for championships. It's going to be a nutso kind of weekend for us, but we'll look forward to that as that gets closer, and really is much closer than what it feels like right now. It feels like that's a long ways away, but it's really not at all, actually.
Would love to know what it feels like to be that fast, but I would need a go-kart in order to...
Speed. I'm not built for speed. I'm more the hare. Give me the Mercedes-Benz and let me go past the rabbit. So,
God, I'm so glad that's over with.
That promotion was interesting.
Oh, man. That got old pretty quick, so I'm just happy.
And you knew the turtle was going to win.
Yeah,
you knew exactly. The turtle was going to win. There's no question about it. You don't hype that up and have the hare win. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Derek, good stuff. Appreciate the rundown there. We've got our first spring sports preview. Mike Scappa, head baseball coach at York College, will join us when we come back here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly. You're listening to SportsRadio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I am Cindy Scullion, one of the proud owners of Frank Storm & Company. We have been voted one of the best for 14 years by the York Dispatch readers for your personal and business tax needs. Call one of my partners or competent staff to set up your tax appointment for your 2014 taxes. We also can handle doing payrolls, sales tax, and compilations for your businesses. Give us a call at one of our 3 convenient locations, York, Dallastown, and Hanover.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
Back here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, it is time to begin to scratch the surface on spring sports, which, believe it or not, are rapidly approaching. When's the first one, guys?
Men's lacrosse, February 14th at Stevenson.
Oof.
Yeah. Wait, it gets better. 7 o'clock at night. Yeah, I think I'm going to that game. I might not be going without many layers of clothing, but yeah, it's approaching quickly. It's hard to believe. And then the women open up on the 18th, and baseball February 22nd. Is that correct?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So yeah, right around the corner.
Hopefully, down south it's a little warmer. I never did quite enjoy the metal bat in conditions like this.
No. Yeah, our actually first baseball home game is the 7th of March. Pretty sure we're not going to play that game.
What do you think?
We never play that first game.
Yeah, what's the percentage of that game being played usually?
Well, right now 0.0%, but no, as you go forward, who knows? Maybe we get maybe the weather gets better quick. Who knows?
Maybe.
I think Vegas has it at 5%.
5%. Yeah, the official over under 5% a chance of
after the groundhog today.
Unfortunately, what you go through with a natural surface is you get a lot of freezing, thawing. So the field can never really dry out because that freezing just captures that moisture and holds on to it. Then when it thaws, it gets soft, but it doesn't actually dry because it refreezes so quickly. So it's really a tough sledding that first probably 2 weeks of March. We don't play a ton of games. Now, we've had some years where we've been fortunate. I remember Matty Day's senior year when we had that really good team that went deep in the Winston-Salem Regional. We were able to get on the field. We were hitting on the field in January, which almost never happens. But that probably was one of the most mild winters we had ever had here. So they had the opportunity to actually be on the field. I think we played almost all of our games on schedule that year, which was pretty rare. But it was a great advantage to be able to get outside and be playing. It's the one thing. Teams in our conference, Salisbury has turf on the infield. They can go out, basically they can plow it and play. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see that transition to more schools collegiately going to turf, which I think hopefully someday we'll be able to do, because it's not even about just playing games. It's about being able to practice. Right now we can go practice on the soccer field, but it's basically defensive practice. It's not, can't really hit with the Grum being right there. They, Paul might frown on us fouling balls off the facing of Grum, but they do get some defensive work. But that's it. So when we play our first game, 9 times out of 10, that's our first on the field action that we've had all year. So maybe someday we'll get some turf. That would certainly be great. I know Hopkins down in Baltimore just installed turf, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat to see baseball played on turf and have the ability to pretty much, as long as you can hold a bat and it's not 20 degrees, you can play baseball.
And just a quick note, since we're on the topic of spring sports, the women's lacrosse coaches poll came out today. Spartans are ranked 13th preseason.
So both lacrosse teams ranked to start the season. Very exciting.
Men 12th in the coaches poll. It came out 2 weeks ago, last week. So both programs ranked preseason. That's definitely, those two programs are definitely trending in the right direction.
Yes.
And also, if you get a chance, check out our Instagram account. Derek over here does some unbelievable work on Instagram. And in fact, I think, did you throw that women's lacrosse thing up there? Yeah. Take a look at it. Does some incredible stuff. So if you're on Instagram, certainly check out the Spartans account.
At YCP Spartans is our handle.
So you can check that out. You notice how I let the young guy chime in there because I'm not quite sure what our handle is. So, but he does some great work and some really graphically some neat things that we share with our fans and certainly our student athletes and parents and recruits and stuff. So it's kind of a new way to reach out for us, and Derek's been doing a great job.
Yeah, and we have to give credit to our photographers too. I mean, they do a great job and provide us with some good pictures. So
yeah, we're only as good as the pictures allow us to be, right?
That's right. So
it's no longer a mystery who's behind the account.
Secrets out of the bag.
No,
that's our breaking news this week.
There's our breaking news. I'll be the first one to tell you. I am a little bit challenged when it comes to stuff like that, but certainly it always amazes me what people like and what people don't like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see pictures that you think are going to be benign, like, well, you took a picture of the teams practicing in the snow the other day.
Yeah, we took,
and it was like 100. We got a ton of likes on that. So.
Yeah, we took the men's lacrosse team was finishing up practice, and the women were getting ready, and it was when the snow was coming down last Tuesday, I think it was, and just snapped a picture from our office, and I think I got over 130 likes, which is the most liked photo we've had so far.
So you didn't even have to leave the warmth and comfort
of
of your office.
And that was my caption. I think I said we're sitting up here in our cozy offices while our lacrosse teams are out there in 3 inches of snow. But that's why they're so good. That's why they're ranked preseason and hopefully make a run at the national tournament again this year.
Hey, and the great thing, the field was clear today, so they're out there practicing right now. Out there freezing by looking out at how windy it is right now. Oh my goodness, it's it takes something special. The women were out on Friday when it was so brutally cold out, and
I told Jen after that, I was like, "How are you out there practicing?" She's like, "Yeah, it's tough. It's tough." I'm like, "Yeah, it's definitely tough." But that's Coach Mustin. She's hard-nosed, though.
Yeah, I was walking into the building, and I heard her with I can't remember if I heard the whistle. I don't know if she uses a whistle or not, but I heard her. I mean, they were going through not missing a beat. Yeah, really.
And just a quick weather report. It's dropped like 7 degrees since we've been sitting in here, so I can't wait to go back outside.
Well, we have Mike Scappa, head baseball coach. You were able to catch up with him earlier, Scott. Quick preview before we hear from him. I would imagine he's pretty excited heading toward he always is.
Scap is incredibly enthusiastic, and there's only one Mike Scappa, and we love having him. He's done a really good job. Last year's team won the CAC regular season championship and hosted the tournament. Unfortunately, kind of had a little bit of run of bad luck in the tournament, but he's got a lot of really good guys coming back, and I think he's really excited. One of the things with college baseball that's changed in probably the last 4 or 5 years is the change in bats. So you'll hear us reference that in the interview, but there's a big, big difference between the more lively bats when games were typical game was 9-7. Yeah. Well, now games are like 5-4, 3-2. It's a lot better brand of baseball, I think, because you really have to focus on doing the little things correctly. So that was one of the areas, and I think that's an area we're going to be pretty good at. We have good pitching, good defense. And if we score enough runs, I think we have a chance to really, really be good this year.
Yeah, he's for any of our listeners that aren't familiar, Scap played for Paul Sakia. He was a catcher at York College, late 90s, I believe.
Mid 90s, actually. I believe he graduated in 98, I believe.
A Jersey native, a great teacher of the game, great teacher of hitting, certainly, and longtime assistant.
Ever had a clean uniform when he was playing.
I bet.
I mean, that you hear the guys that they call dirtbags, and that's a very respectful. That was Scat, man. He played all out, played hard, was fantastic, and really is he's such a good teacher of the game that benefits our kids, and he loves the game, and that's really the best way to say he just loves baseball, and certainly I think you'll be able to hear some of that enthusiasm in the interview.
And somehow, being from South Jersey, he's a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, but whatever floats his boat.
And a Houston Texans fan, so he's kind of all over the map here.
Oh, he is?
That's a little nugget for you, Daryl.
Yeah. Scap all over. But I'll tell you what, he can. I think I asked 3 questions in this interview, and it's a Joe Theismann type situation.
Well, we'll hear a lot of Scap then here the next 5 minutes. Here he is, head baseball coach Mike Scappa.
We are here with head baseball coach Mike Scappa as he is getting ready for his Spartans to open the 2015 season at the end of February. Coach, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Coach, what's it like having to be you're an outside sport, but you're stuck inside for a long period of time, usually right up until you start playing. How do you handle that as a spring sport?
At times it can be very difficult, especially if you do get a break in the weather and you get a couple days outside and then have to come back inside. It kind of plays with your mind a little bit, but we're very fortunate. Our facilities here are top-notch. We've got tons of inside space, batting cages, and a floor surface where we can do plenty of team defense. And then if the weather breaks just a little bit, we can go outside and use the turf field specifically for defense and to get our arms stretched out. So it's not as difficult as it was, let's say, 15, 20 years ago in the old Wolf Gym where we only had one basketball court worth of space and there really wasn't much to do except hit and toss a little bit. Now we can get a lot done. So, but it's more mental than anything because it's an outside sport and you get a little bit of cabin fever and you're just trying to count the days until you can get outside for real.
Coming off a really good year from last year, what are some of your expectations for this year for this team?
Well, I think we have a chance to be pretty good. We've got a lot of young guys that played quite a bit last year, some infielders and certainly some pitchers. And just going by the numbers, you'd say, well, they did lose a lot, but you anticipate that those young guys will make that jump forward in their development, and their numbers will start to look like some of the guys that had already graduated's numbers were last year. So Logan Countryman was a guy, part-time starter in the outfield, played really, really well for us at times last year. Scott Steffi and Mike Moore were guys that played really, really well at times for us last year, especially defensively. Gave us a little bit of boost at the bottom of the order. And we do have some guys back, lineup-wise. Brad Wenzel's back, Derek Pitzer's back, and Stephen Mealy's back. So we have quite a few of the middle of our order guys that really produced for us last year, not only with the power and the batting average, but also speed as well. And then defensively is where I think will be the strongest. Majority of our infield is back, and the guys that are replacing them are solid defensive players too, maybe a little bit further along defensively than they are offensively at this point. We've got a guy back from injury in the outfield who was a really strong player for us named Sean Mulholland, and then he hurt his shoulder so he couldn't play the outfield, so basically he was just a pinch hitter for us last year, but he's a guy we really like. And then pitching-wise, I think is where we'll be the strongest. We've got 3/4 of our rotation back. And we've got a veteran bullpen, guys that are really, really hungry to really make an impact this year. So they should be able to handle their business. And we've got 3 young pitchers that have all showed a lot of promise. So that should be, a chance. We've got a chance to be pretty good, I think. We'll surprise some people. It's not as if we have a ton of big names where everybody says, oh, remember this guy, Colby Herr, Andrew Hershey, Colin Porter, guys like that really have some success throughout their career. But I think we have a chance to be really good. Our biggest area that we need to improve upon is behind the plate. We've got 4 young catchers, and I think that's the area where we really need to focus on to see who will be the 1 or 2 guys to really take charge of the team because it's such a crucial defensive position.
You talk about the pitching and defense being the key. How much more important is that now as the bats have changed? It's been a couple years since the bats have changed. How important is that to be strong on the mound and defensively?
It's very, very strong. I don't think, even with the old bats, you still had to pitch well. You couldn't get by with mediocre pitching with the more lively bats. And defensively, certainly you can't give guys extra opportunities. It's already hard to score, so if you make it a little bit easier with defensive mistakes, it makes it easier for, let's say, a team that's not as explosive offensively to put up 6 runs, which is, it's tough to score more than 6 runs. And early in the season especially, you don't feel like a hitter. It's cold. It's windy. The pitchers certainly have the advantage, so you have to be on top of your game defensively because it's harder for the hitters to get loose. And, until the bats start coming around, once you find your rhythm to get outside and take batting practice on the field and see the flight of the ball off the bat, defense is going to have to carry. You're going to have to win some closer games, a couple maybe 5-2 type games. And those games count at the end of the season. Nobody asks you, what was the weather like? Was it cold or anything like that? It doesn't matter. A win is a win, a loss is a loss, so you have to figure out a way to win those early season games. And, it's an old saying. If you pitch and play defense, you'll be in every game. So you don't need to score 10 runs. You might only need to score 5. And then that's for us early in the season. That's what we want to do. We want to pitch well. We want to play defense. Get off to a good start, and then hopefully when the bats come around, that'll take us into another gear.
All right, Coach. Thanks a lot. We look forward to talking to you later in 2015.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. That is the one and only Scap making his Spartan Sports Weekly debut.
We got to get him in studio one time. He would be highly, highly entertaining. So Scap has an unbelievable memory. He can remember what he ate for lunch on June 13th, 1986. He can probably tell you. It's unbelievable. His recall is amazing. Like, when it comes to sports, if he tells you it happened on this day at this time, it happened on that day at that time. And it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the one day in the office we're just sitting around, and he could name every Final Four and champion from the Division I men's basketball tournament from like 79 all the way up to the present, just on memory. I mean, he almost knew who the runner-up was before he knew what the champion was. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, good stuff. Scott, thank you for taking the time with Scap today. Scap, thank you for joining us. He's probably in the practice gym at this point, but
yes, he
probably
is.
Not listening. But
probably not. But he can listen on the archives once we have those babies posted.
Yes, and our YouTube channel will be going up this week.
That's
WOYK YouTube. So.
I'm sure that we will see that on Twitter, I'm sure.
Yeah, we needed a place with more storage so the website wouldn't crash.
But just to reassure people, you will not see us. You will not see us during the break. You will just hear us, thankfully.
This is not to scare you off.
No, we want you to listen.
There will be a nice logo right there that you can look at for the entire hour if you choose, rather than us. That's better than us.
Oh, it's way better than us. Are you kidding me? It's fantastic.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll wrap it up with men's hoops when we come back here on York College Spartan Sports Weekly here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
At OSS Health, our highly trained physicians are on the field, in the training room, at home games, or away. From preseason physicals to postseason surgery, we're on the sidelines so athletes don't have to be, getting you back in the game. When it comes to sports medicine, we're the ones you've trusted for 30 years. OSS Health Sports Medicine, experience you can trust. Visit us online at osshealth.com. January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Believe it or not, spring is coming, and we've got the bases covered like Etch with dirt during a tantrum. Join Darryl Henry and Atlantic League Manager of the Year Mark Mason for Revs Hot Stove Weekly, every Friday at 4. Breaking news each week with the latest player signings exclusively here first. Plus fan interaction online, interviews with players, and we'll highlight really good calls from umpires. Maybe we should have stopped with interviews with players. Revs Hot Stove Weekly, Fridays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
All right, old guy Guy Radio. Actually, though, I don't know, I might get...
We've been too loquacious today.
I know.
We've talked too much.
We've been on topic. By the way, Derek, it's been great to have you in here. I hope you'll join us again.
If you'll have me back, yeah, of course.
Well,
if our ratings don't plummet after this show, yeah, I'll be back.
There is that table back there with your name on it. So, men's basketball here in the final segment. And, guys, the one thing that I took away from both games this week, first of all, Penn State-Harrisburg, I know that was a disappointing loss for them after the win up there, but they followed it up with a great effort on Saturday, gave themselves a chance against Christopher Newport, who's one of the more formidable teams in the conference. The one thing I took away, and we said this on the post game, leaving the broadcast Saturday, both games struck me as they are, maybe one factor away from turning the corner, or one player away, and that's nothing against anybody that's on the team, but maybe one scorer that you can give the ball to when the game's on the line, or one guy that you can hang your hat on, smothering the opponent's top scorer defensively. It just, these games, they might be 10-point losses, but it might be one factor where they're close enough that that's the difference between getting over the hump. And, hopefully next year that starts to happen for them. But that's kind of what my takeaway was from this past week. I don't know about you guys.
I think that's a very fair observation. I look at it a little bit different. I think they don't have experienced leadership. I think Chris Conway does a really good job as the oldest guy on the team, but at the end of the day, he doesn't bring a ton of game experience with him. And we're still learning. There's so many things that we're still learning. And one of the big things I think we lack is just consistency. You turn the ball over 30 times against Penn State-Harrisburg, and then only commit 13 turnovers against a team that's far better defensively than Christopher Newport. And, it's that game-to-game consistency, game-to-game of, bringing out your best performance and playing well as a unit and playing well together. And that's just the one thing I think we're still searching for, is that consistency in terms of play. In terms of pieces, yeah, I think there's no question, this team needs to be added to. And I know that Coach Hunter and Coach Bollinger are out there working their tails off recruiting and, trying to get that guy. The great thing about college basketball is there's only 5 guys on the floor at a time. One guy can make a huge impact on what you're doing, whether that's a new freshman or somebody maybe that transfers from another D3 school or D2 school. I think that ability to kind of transform and add to your team, I think it's a good core. I think Dalton, you build around Dalton Myers and Max Bell and Brad Wesner and Mike Duffy and Tyler Alston. That's a solid core of guys, and you need to continue to Matt Scamuffo as well. You got to continue to build around those guys and give them more pieces. It's just very interesting. This when your leaders are sophomores, in terms of who's playing a lot and who's doing that, you don't have a ton of experience. And the Spartans, that's one thing. They just don't have a ton of experience, and I think that's an area where even being a year older can help. But certainly you look for – we don't have one guy when the game's on the line. We don't have a guy to make a play. And I think that's not a knock on our current guys. That's a fact. We don't have somebody that can pick us up and carry us. And I think that's one thing that if we can find somebody like that, that would be a huge benefit to this team.
Yeah, I think another thing, too, is in the second half, when teams adjust to what we've been doing, we have a hard time picking that up and then countering that and finding a way to stay productive, because there's so many games now how we've been leading or in the game at halftime, and then the second half it just seems like we give up that 10-point run, or we're down 10, and then it's like we can't climb our way back into it. And like we've said today, it's just experience. I think the comfort level isn't quite there yet, with playing with each other and grasping the new offense, and just being in games in general is just the guys need more time, more experience to gel and come together. And we definitely have seen that so far this year, and I think next year could be a different story, but it's disappointing. I mean, you root for these guys, so you want them to to win and succeed, and it's heartbreaking to see them fail time and time again like that.
Yeah, I was so happy with the effort that they had on Saturday. That they came out with great energy. I mean, on paper, nobody expected them to win, but I was so happy to see the way that they came out, especially after the game on Wednesday.
Oh, there's no doubt, and I've never, I think there are certain things that coaches control. I think getting guys to play with effort. I think we always play with effort. I think we do a really good job of that. Our kids play hard. It doesn't mean we always play well, but we play hard and we give good effort. And, there's not really any time that I've looked at this team, at least in games I've seen this year, where I'm like, wow, we kind of rolled over and quit. I don't think that's been the case. I think they continue to fight. And, they take a lot of that from Matt. Matt hasn't thrown in the towel and hasn't given up. And I think the big thing for the last 6 games of the year, and I think we talked about it last week, is continue to improve, continue to get better, continue to be more consistent in what we're doing, and that approach. With 6 games left, hey, we're at the point now we've got nothing to lose. So let's go let it all hang out and see what we can do and see how we measure up against some of the better teams in the conference the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. Well, this week at Wesley on Wednesday, we'll be on at 5:45. Betsy Whitman going for her 300th. Big game for the women. The men have had some success against Wesley, certainly over the years. So maybe this game Wednesday will be the one for them. We'll see. And Saturday at Marymount, those games are at 2 and 4, so we'll be on at 1:45 on Saturday. 2 doubleheaders on the road this week. Guys, thanks very much. It's been great. Derek, again, thank you for joining us. Hope to make you a regular part of the show again, and be back at it next Monday at 4.
I told you he's not the best assistant in the country for nothing.
Very versatile, too. It's Instagram, it's radio, it's Twitter, and what are your other endorsements?
That's about it.
That's
Darryl.
it? Okay.
Yeah,
he's being very
let's not get carried away
right
now. Come on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you one and all for tuning in once again. This has been York College Spartans Sports Weekly. Enjoy your evening here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK York. The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
And that's going to do it. The York College Spartans are 2014 CAC champions.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.